The vast metallic corridors of Concordia Prime hummed with tension as delegates from across the galaxy gathered in the central chamber. The space station, larger than most moons, served as the neutral meeting ground for the Galactic Council. Its crystal dome offered a breathtaking view of the nebula beyond, but today, no one was admiring the scenery. Ambassador Vextal of the Krillian Empire stepped forward to the speaking platform. His reptilian features were set in grim determination as he activated the holographic display. Images of human colonies flickered to life, showing bustling settlements and cargo ships moving between star systems. Honored delegates, Vextal began, his voice carrying the weight of authority, we face a growing threat to galactic stability. The humans of Earth have expanded far beyond their agreed boundaries. In just 50 years, they have established colonies in 12 star systems. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Thraxian delegate clicked his mandibles in disapproval, while the crystalline Vorthan representative pulsed with orange light, indicating concern. Vextal continued, their merchant fleets now compete directly with our established trade routes. Profits that have flowed to our civilizations for millennia are being diverted to these upstart humans. They show no respect for the careful balance we have maintained for thousands of years. Council Elder Morthek rose from his elevated seat. The ancient Zelani was over 800 years old, and his translucent skin showed the wisdom patterns that marked his species' greatest leaders. When he spoke, the entire chamber fell silent. The humans are children playing with forces they do not understand, Morthek said slowly. When the Krillian Empire was building its first starships, my people had already mastered faster-than-light travel. When the Thraxians discovered fire, we had cities spanning multiple worlds. These humans have barely learned to walk among the stars, yet they act as if they own them. The Elder's words carried weight. The Zelani hierarchy was the oldest known civilization in the galaxy, predating most species by millions of years. Their approval meant everything in council politics. A demonstration is required, Morthek continued. Not destruction, but correction. They must learn their place in the galactic order before their recklessness causes real damage. Ambassador Li Jinho sat quietly in the Earth delegation section, which consisted of just himself and 2 junior diplomats. Unlike the other delegations with their dozens of advisors and guards, the human presence was minimal. He watched as species after species voiced their agreement with the Krillian proposal. The vote was called. Economic sanctions against human trade routes passed first, with only Earth voting against. Then came the motion for military action, a surgical demonstration of force against 3 outer human colonies to remind them of proper galactic conduct. As the votes were tallied, Li Jinho rose from his seat. His simple diplomatic uniform looked plain next to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor of the other delegates, but his voice carried clearly across the chamber. Honored Council, he began, I urge you to reconsider this course of action. You speak of humanity as children, but you forget something important about children, they learn quickly, especially when threatened. Vextal's scales rippled with what might have been amusement. Ambassador Li, surely you do not suggest that your primitive fleets could challenge the combined might of 3 galactic powers. I suggest nothing, Li Jinho replied calmly. I simply remind you that humanity has survived ice ages that lasted thousands of years. We have endured plagues that killed half our population. We have fought wars that devastated entire continents, yet we rebuilt and grew stronger. We have faced extinction-level asteroid impacts and volcanic eruptions that blocked out our sun for decades. The chamber grew quiet. Few species had such a violent planetary history and survived to reach the stars. We did not reach the stars because we were the strongest or the smartest, Li Jinho continued. We reached them because we refused to give up. We adapt. We overcome. We endure. You call us primitive, but we prefer to think of ourselves as resilient. Elder Morthek's wisdom patterns shifted to a deeper blue. Your words are brave, young ambassador, but bravery alone cannot stand against superior technology in numbers. You are correct, honored elder, Li Jinho agreed. But you assume we have only bravery to offer. The vote concluded with overwhelming support for military action. 4 to 6 species voted in favor, with only Earth opposed. The demonstration would target the colonies at Kepler 442b, Wolf 1061c, and Proxima Centauri b. The message would be clear, humanity needed to accept its junior status in galactic affairs. As the session ended, delegates began filing out, already discussing trade agreements and territorial adjustments they would implement once the humans were properly chastened. Vextal was particularly pleased, seeing opportunity in the human setback. Li Jinho gathered his few papers and prepared to leave. As he passed Elder Morthek's platform, the ancient Zelani looked down at him with something that might have been curiosity. "Tell me, Ambassador," Morthek said quietly, "what did you mean about having more than bravery to offer?" Li Jinho paused and looked up at the elder. For a moment, his diplomatic composure slipped, and Morthek glimpsed something harder underneath. "Honored Elder," Li Jinho said softly, "in our language, we have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. We have been speaking very softly for 50 years. With that, the human ambassador walked away, leaving Elder Morthek to wonder what he had just heard. Within hours, the Krillian, Zelani, and Thraxian fleets were moving toward human space, confident in their overwhelming advantage. None of them noticed the subtle smile that crossed Li Jinho's face as he transmitted a single coded message back to Earth: "The trap is set." The communication burst from Concordia Prime reached Earth Sol Defense Command in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Admiral Park Minutsu was reviewing routine patrol reports when his aide, Lieutenant Jo Eun-woo, burst into his office without knocking. "Sir, priority message from Ambassador Lee," Jo Eun-woo said breathlessly. "The Council voted for military action against our outer colonies." Admiral Park set down his coffee cup slowly. At 62 years old, he had served in the Earth Defense Force for over 4 decades. He had been preparing for this day since humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. "Get me Dr. Kim on secure channel," he ordered. "Then patch me through to Colonial Command. Looks like our peaceful expansion just ended." Within minutes, holographic displays filled the command center. Colony administrators, fleet commanders, and intelligence officers materialized around the central table. Dr. Kim Hae-jin, head of Human Strategic Intelligence, was the first to speak. "The target list is confirmed," she said, pulling up stellar charts. Kepler 442b, Wolf 1061c, and Proxima Centauri b combined population of 2.3 million civilians. The alien fleet consists of approximately 200 ships from 3 different species. Captain Bae Soo-young, commander of the Merchant Fleet Protection Service, leaned forward. "Admiral, we can have conversion protocols active within 6 hours. Every cargo hauler in those systems can be combat-ready before the aliens arrive." "What's our real defensive capability?" asked Admiral Park. Dr. Kim activated a new display showing the true structure of human space. What appeared to be simple trade routes and colony ships revealed themselves as something far more sophisticated. Every colony ship that left Earth in the past 50 years carried fabrication equipment capable of producing military hardware, she explained. The colonists thought they were building farming equipment and mining tools. They were actually constructing weapons and defense systems. The agricultural stations orbiting gas giants throughout human space were not what they seemed. While they did process atmospheric gases for terraforming, their primary function was manufacturing. Each station could produce 50 automated defense drones per day. "The merchant vessels?" Admiral Park asked. "All equipped with military-grade shields and weapon hardpoints," Captain Bae replied. "The cargo containers can be ejected and replaced with missile pods in 4 hours. We've been running conversion drills disguised as loading exercises." Commander Han Ji-woo, stationed at Proxima Centauri, joined the conversation. "Sir, civilian evacuation is already underway. We're moving people to the asteroid mining facilities. The aliens won't find any soft targets when they arrive." Dr. Kim pulled up another display showing the true scope of human preparation. "We've been mapping galactic infrastructure since first contact. Every trade negotiation, every diplomatic mission, every scientific exchange has been gathering intelligence. We know where their fuel depots are located, which systems contain their government centers, and how their supply lines operate." Admiral Park studied the information. Decades of careful planning were about to be tested. "How long until the alien fleet reaches the first target?" 72 hours until they hit Kepler 442b, Dr. Kim replied. "But they're moving in formation, which means they'll arrive at all 3 systems within a 6-hour window." "Perfect," Admiral Park said. "Dr. Kim, activate Operation Sleeping Giant. All colonies are now under Colonial Defense Authority control. Captain Bae, begin merchant fleet conversion immediately. Commander Han, I want those civilian populations moved to secure locations within 48 hours." The transformation began immediately. Throughout human space, cargo ships docked at hidden facilities where civilian workers removed trade goods and installed weapon systems. The workers had been trained for this moment, though they had believed the training was for asteroid mining operations. On the farming worlds, automated factories that had been producing agricultural equipment switched to military production. Tractors became tank chassis. Irrigation systems became missile launchers. Farming drones became reconnaissance units. The asteroid mining stations revealed their true purpose. Hidden shipyards that had been disguised as ore processing facilities began launching vessels that had been constructed in secret over decades. Each ship was painted to look like space debris or damaged hulks, but they carried the most advanced weapons humanity could build. Captain Yoon Sera commanded one of the merchant vessels being converted near Wolf 1061C. Her crew worked frantically to replace cargo pods with weapons systems. The aliens think we're just traders, said her engineer, Petty Officer Nam Tai-ho. They have no idea every merchant in human space is trained for combat. That's the point, Captain Yoon replied. They see what they expect to see. Primitive humans playing at space travel. The communication networks buzzed with coded messages. Colony administrators who had thought they were managing farming communities discovered they were actually commanding fortress worlds. Scientists who believed they were studying stellar phenomena had been mapping strategic targets. At the remote research station orbiting Wolf 1061's gas giant, Dr. Shin A-young received new orders. Her atmospheric processing facility was actually a massive automated weapons factory. Within hours, it would be launching defense platforms disguised as scientific satellites. How long have we been preparing for this? Asked her assistant, Dr. Oh Minute-jun. Since the day we learned we weren't alone in the universe, Dr. Shin replied. Humanity learned long ago that peace is only possible when you're prepared for war. The alien fleet continued its approach, confident in their overwhelming advantage. They expected to find scattered human settlements protected by a few patrol ships and orbital platforms. Instead, they were walking into a trap 50 years in the making. Admiral Park watched the tactical displays as his forces moved into position. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. They had mistaken careful planning for primitive simplicity. They had confused peaceful intentions with weakness. Signal all units, Admiral Park ordered. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. Show them what happens when you threaten humanity's children. The message went out across human space. The sleeping giant was awake. Commander Vextal stood on the bridge of his flagship Dominant Claw as the combined alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. His tactical displays showed exactly what intelligence had predicted: a single inhabited world with a few orbital stations and scattered asteroid mining operations. Scan for defensive positions, Vextal ordered his sensor officer. The young Krillian scales showed the confident patterns of impending victory. Commander, I'm reading minimal energy signatures, reported the sensor officer. No military vessels detected. The orbital platforms appear to be civilian structures only. Excellent, Vextal replied. Signal the Zelani and Thraxian squadrons. We proceed as planned. A quick demonstration, minimal casualties, maximum impact. The fleet moved deeper into the system in perfect formation. 200 ships representing the finest military technology of 3 advanced civilizations. Each vessel was larger and more powerful than anything humans had built. This would be over quickly. As they approached the inner system, something felt wrong. The planets were too quiet. The orbital stations showed no activity. Space traffic that should have been bustling with civilian vessels was completely empty. Where are the humans? Asked Subcommander Morketh, Vextal's second-in-command. Intelligence reports indicated over 800,000 colonists in this system. Perhaps they fled when they learned of our approach, Vextal suggested. Cowards often run when faced with superior force. The fleet entered the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets. The space around them was filled with the usual debris of a working mining operation: broken rock fragments, abandoned equipment, and the twisted metal remains of old mining ships that had been stripped for parts. Vextal was studying his tactical display when the universe exploded around them. What he had taken for space debris suddenly blazed with energy signatures. Hundreds of objects that had appeared to be dead metal revealed themselves as fully operational human warships. The abandoned mining equipment activated weapon systems that had been carefully disguised as industrial tools. Ambush! Screamed the sensor officer, but his warning came too late. The first wave of human attacks struck with devastating precision. Antimatter torpedoes launched from what had appeared to be simple asteroid mining platforms. The merchant vessels that intelligence had dismissed as cargo haulers opened hidden weapon ports and began pouring plasma fire into the alien formation. Captain Choi Sung-ho commanded the disguised freighter Soul Trader positioned near the center of the alien fleet. His ship had been painted to look like a damaged wreck, complete with fake hull breaches and simulated atmosphere leaks. When the attack began, the fake damage fell away to reveal a fully armed heavy cruiser. "All weapons, fire at will," Captain Choi ordered. His crew had trained for this moment for years. They knew exactly how to make every shot count. The alien fleet tried to respond, but their perfect formation became a death trap. Ships designed for open space combat found themselves surrounded by enemies hiding in asteroid fields and debris clouds. Every direction they turned, more human vessels revealed themselves. Commander Vextal watched in horror as his flagship screens showed impossible readings. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir," replied his tactical officer. "Contacts appearing everywhere. They're using some kind of advanced stealth technology." It was not stealth technology. It was something far more frightening: careful planning. For 50 years, humans had been positioning assets throughout their space. Every trade route, every mining operation, every scientific survey had placed ships and weapons where they could do the most damage when needed. The human attack was not random violence. It was surgical precision. They targeted engine systems to disable ships rather than destroy them completely. They focused on weapons and shields, leaving life support mostly intact. They were fighting to win, not to commit massacre. But when alien ships tried to surrender, the humans showed a different side of their nature. Several Krillian vessels lowered their shields and transmitted surrender signals. The human response was swift and brutal, focused fire that turned the surrendering ships into expanding clouds of debris. "They are not taking prisoners," observed Subcommander Morketh with growing fear. Captain Park Hyun-woo commanded a squadron of converted mining ships. His vessels looked like industrial equipment, but they carried enough firepower to destroy battleships. When a damaged Thraxian cruiser tried to escape, he positioned his ship directly in its path. "Sir, we can disable their engines from here," suggested his weapons officer. "Negative," Captain Park replied. "They chose to attack our homes. They chose to threaten our families. No mercy." The mining ship accelerated to ramming speed and punched through the alien cruiser's hull like a spear through paper. Both ships died in the collision, but Captain Park's sacrifice prevented the enemy from escaping to report human capabilities. Captain Choi Sung-ho found himself facing Vextal's flagship as the battle reached its climax. His own ship was heavily damaged, with hull breaches venting atmosphere into space. His weapons were offline, and his engines were failing. But he still had one weapon left: his ship itself. "All crew to escape pods," he ordered over the intercom. "Set collision course for the alien flagship." His bridge crew looked at him in shock. "Sir, the escape pods won't clear the blast radius in time," warned his navigation officer. Captain Choi smiled grimly. "Then we die as humans." Ramming speed. The Soul Trader accelerated toward the Dominant Claw on a suicide run. Vextal's crew tried desperately to destroy the approaching ship, but their weapons could not stop its final charge. "For humanity!" Captain Choi screamed into his radio as his ship smashed into the alien flagship's bridge. The explosion tore both vessels apart, sending chunks of metal spinning through space. Across all human frequencies, the cry was taken up by other captains facing impossible odds. "For humanity!" echoed through space as ship after ship chose destruction over defeat. Within 6 hours, the demonstration fleet was destroyed. Of 200 alien warships, fewer than 30 limped away from the system. Commander Vextal was dead, his flagship a drifting wreck. The survivors carried a terrifying message back to their governments: humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The emergency beacon from the Kepler 442 system reached the Krillian Reserve Fleet at their staging area near the Vega Nebula. Admiral Kexthor received the fragmentary reports with growing disbelief. His demonstration fleet had been destroyed. Commander Vextal was dead. The humans had somehow turned a simple punitive action into a massacre. "Impossible," Admiral Kexthor hissed, his scales darkening with rage. 200 ships against primitive colonists. There must be some mistake. The surviving captains who limped back to the staging area told a different story. Captain Zorketh of the cruiser Vengeance had watched human ships emerge from what appeared to be empty space. His vessel's hull showed the scars of weapons that should not have existed in human hands. "They were waiting for us," Captain Zorketh reported, his voice hollow with shock. "Every piece of debris, every abandoned mining rig, every merchant vessel was a trap. They knew we were coming." Admiral Kexthor called for reinforcements. Within hours, the reserve fleet swelled to over 400 ships. Zelani battlecruisers arrived alongside Thraxian dreadnoughts. This time, there would be no mistakes. They would glass every human world in the sector. Prepare for full assault, Admiral Kextor commanded. No survivors, no negotiations. These humans need to learn the price of defying the galactic order. The massive fleet began its final approach to human space. But as they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, priority communications began flooding in from their homeworlds. The messages were brief, urgent, and terrifying. Fleet Command to Admiral Kextor, came the transmission from Krylia Prime. Abort current mission. Return immediately. We are under attack. Similar messages arrived from the Zelani capital system and the Thraxian military headquarters. Each carried the same impossible news: human forces had simultaneously struck at the heart of 3 different civilizations. Captain Yang Sominit sat in the command chair of the stealth ship Silent Arrow as it hung motionless in the shadow of Krylia Prime's largest moon. Her vessel had been in the Krylian capital system for 8 months, disguised as a navigation beacon. The aliens had grown so accustomed to its presence that they no longer bothered to scan it. The orbital defense platforms are coming online, reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim Do-hyun. They're detecting our weapon signatures. Too late, Captain Yang replied calmly. She opened a communication channel on all Krylian frequencies. This is Captain Yang Sominit of the Earth Defense Force. I am broadcasting from orbit above your capital world. The reaction was immediate. Krylian space traffic controllers began screaming orders in their native language. Defense ships launched from orbital stations. The planetary shields began powering up. Your government ordered an attack on human civilian colonies, Captain Yang continued, her voice steady and professional. Your military fleet has been destroyed. You now have 48 hours to recall all remaining forces from human space and agree to our terms for ending this conflict. On the planet's surface, billions of Krylians looked up at their sky and realized that a human warship was holding their entire civilization hostage. The psychological impact was devastating. If humans could penetrate this deep into Krylian space without detection, nowhere was safe. If your fleets do not withdraw, Captain Yang concluded, we will begin targeting your economic and governmental infrastructure. We do not wish to harm civilians, but we will defend our people by any means necessary. Similar scenes were playing out across alien space. Captain Lee Jun-sik's ship had been masquerading as a deep space research vessel in the Zelani system for over a year. When he revealed his true nature, the ancient Zelani hierarchy panicked. Their homeworld had not faced a military threat in millennia. In the Thraxian capital system, Commander Park Ji-hai transmitted her ultimatum from a position that should have been impossible to reach. Her ship had been hiding inside the system's asteroid mining operations, slowly moving closer to the inhabited worlds over many months. The aliens began to understand the scope of human preparation. Every diplomatic mission, every trade negotiation, every scientific exchange had been cover for intelligence gathering and strategic positioning. While they had seen peaceful merchants and curious explorers, humans had been mapping their weaknesses and placing assets for future conflict. Dr. Kim Hae-jin monitored the operation from Earth's Strategic Command Center. Holographic displays showed 12 different alien systems simultaneously under threat from human forces. The coordination required was staggering, yet it had been planned down to the smallest detail. All teams report successful positioning, she informed Admiral Park Minitsu. The aliens are discovering that we've been 3 steps ahead of them for decades. Admiral Park studied the tactical displays. Any signs of alien compliance? The Thraxians have already begun recalling their ships, Dr. Kim reported. The Zelani are requesting immediate negotiations. The Krylians are less cooperative. On Krylia Prime, the government was in chaos. Admiral Kextor had received direct orders to abandon his mission and return home immediately. The planet's defensive fleet was no match for the human vessels that had somehow penetrated their most secure space. How did they get ships into our capital system? Demanded High Commander Vorthkek during an emergency council session. Our sensors show no signs of infiltration. The answer was simple but terrifying. Humans had not infiltrated recently. They had been positioning assets for decades, using patience and long-term planning that no other species had demonstrated. While aliens thought in terms of immediate military superiority, humans had been playing a much longer game. Captain Yang maintained her position above Krylia Prime, her ship's weapons trained on critical infrastructure targets. She did not need to fire. The mere presence of human forces deep in alien territory was enough to shatter their confidence. We're receiving surrender transmissions from multiple alien fleets, Lieutenant Kim reported. They're requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Patch me through to Admiral Park, Captain Yang replied. The first phase of the human counterattack was complete. They had demonstrated that Earth's reach extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about humanity. They were not just fierce fighters or brilliant tacticians. They were strategic thinkers who planned for conflicts that might not happen for decades. While other species prepared for the wars they expected, humans prepared for the wars that might come. The alien demonstration against human colonies had backfired spectacularly. Instead of showing human weakness, it had revealed human strength. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 18 hours after the first reports reached Concordia Prime Star. The great chamber that had witnessed millennia of civilized debate was now filled with panic and confusion. Delegates who had voted confidently for military action against humanity now faced the impossible reality of their situation. Elder Morthek stood at his speaking platform, his ancient wisdom patterns flickering with colors that had not been seen in centuries. The translucent skin that marked Zalani leadership showed deep purples and reds, the colors of shock and fear. Honored delegates, he began, his voice lacking its usual authority, we have received confirmation from our homeworlds. Human vessels have been positioned in our most secure systems for months, possibly years. They had the capability to strike at our civilian populations but chose to target only military and economic infrastructure. The Thoraxian delegates' mandibles clicked nervously. How is this possible? Our intelligence services detected no signs of infiltration. Because there was no infiltration, replied the Vorthan representative, his crystalline body pulsing with dim orange light. They were already there. Hidden in plain sight as traders, researchers, and diplomats. Ambassador Li Jinho entered the chamber and walked slowly to the Earth delegation section. His simple diplomatic uniform looked exactly the same as it had during the previous session, but now every delegate understood what they were really looking at, the representative of a species that had been preparing for war while conducting peace talks. The chamber fell silent as he took his seat. No one wanted to be the first to speak to the human who had just orchestrated the most successful military operation in galactic history. Elder Morthek finally found his voice. Ambassador Li, your species has demonstrated capabilities that we did not expect. Our intelligence suggested that humanity possessed only basic spacefaring technology. You saw what you wanted to see, Li Jinho replied calmly. We never lied about our capabilities. We simply allowed you to make assumptions. The Krillian emergency representative, a young officer named Subcommander Torketh who had replaced the deceased Ambassador Vextal, spoke with barely controlled anger. You had weapons positioned above our capital world for months. You could have destroyed our government at any time. Yes, Li Jinho agreed simply. We could have. But we did not. Why? Demanded the Thoraxian delegate. Your people destroyed our demonstration fleet without mercy. You showed no hesitation in killing our soldiers. Li Jinho stood and faced the assembled delegates. Because there is a difference between soldiers who choose to attack civilian colonies and innocent people living their daily lives. We fight to protect our families, not to conquer yours. The chamber erupted in whispered conversations. Delegates struggled to understand the human concept of proportional response. Most galactic conflicts ended in either complete surrender or total destruction. The idea of measured retaliation was foreign to them. What do you want? Asked Elder Morthek. Your forces hold our capital systems hostage. You could demand anything. We want what we have always wanted, Li Jinho replied. To be treated as equals in the galactic community. To trade freely, to explore peacefully, and to be left alone to develop our colonies as we see fit. The vote to withdraw all military forces from human space passed unanimously. Not a single delegate was willing to continue the conflict with a species that had demonstrated such strategic capability. But what came next shocked them even more. Ambassador Li activated his holographic display and presented a comprehensive proposal. The human colonial government offers the following terms for lasting peace: expanded trade agreements with all interested parties, technology sharing programs for mutual benefit, and mutual defense pacts for protection against common threats. Subcommander Torketh's scales rippled with confusion. You offer partnership? After what has happened? This entire conflict could have been avoided through negotiation, Li Jinho explained. We did not want war. You forced it upon us. Now that you understand our capabilities, perhaps we can return to civilized discussion. Dr. Shin A-young, who had been observing from the human delegation, leaned forward. Her role as a scientific advisor gave her insight into galactic politics that pure military leaders might miss. The humans planned this entire scenario, she realized. They knew that a demonstration of overwhelming force followed by generous peace terms would establish them as a major power. The Vorthan delegate pulsed with understanding. They could have demanded tribute, territorial concessions, or military surrender. Instead, they offer trade and cooperation. "It's brilliant," whispered the Zelani junior representative to his superior. "They used our own aggression to force recognition of their equality. They never wanted conquest, they wanted respect." Elder Morthek studied the human ambassador with new appreciation. "Your people think in very long terms, Ambassador Lee. This was not just a military operation, it was a diplomatic strategy that took decades to implement. We learned long ago that the best way to end a conflict is to make your enemy into your ally," Li Jinho replied. "Conquered peoples rebel. Trading partners prosper together." The technology-sharing proposals were particularly attractive to the advanced species. Humans offered innovations in stealth technology, long-term strategic planning, and resource management that could benefit everyone. In exchange, they requested assistance with faster-than-light travel improvements and energy generation systems. The mutual defense pacts created a new dynamic in galactic politics. No longer were humans the junior species seeking protection from their betters. They were offering to protect others with the same hidden fleets that had just humbled three major powers. As the session concluded, delegates began to understand what they were witnessing. Humanity had not just won a war, they had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. They had done it not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through patient planning and strategic thinking that spanned generations. Captain Yang So-Minute received the ceasefire orders while still positioned above Krylia Prime. Her mission had succeeded beyond all expectations. The aliens would never again see humans as primitive upstarts. They would be respected, feared, and ultimately welcomed as equals. In the depths of space, human shipyards that had been disguised as mining operations revealed their true purpose. They began constructing not just warships, but exploration vessels, research stations, and trading ships. The infrastructure built for war would now serve the peace that humanity had fought to secure. The galaxy had learned an important lesson: never underestimate a species that survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars to reach the stars.